Alright, Brandon, in this video I'm going to go over the videos you sent, squat, bench, and deadlift, and then I'll do a second video probably going over the training file. So we'll start here with the squat. Overall with the squat, really good unrack and setup here. Took 1, 2, 3 steps, very efficient, and then the actual squat itself was very good, like Olympic style high bar squat with the knees forward, very upright, and good depth here as well, and a little sticking point just out of the hole, which is typical for that kind of style squat, but you did a good job of sticking with it and fighting through. Lost your balance a little bit, maybe had a little bit of downward motion. It's hard to tell from this angle. That could be part of it just from the high bar style, and part of it also could just be your heels came up a little bit in the hole. So here your feet are flat on the ground, but when you go down to the very bottom, right around there, the heel starts coming up just because of how far the knees are going forward. You just run out of range of motion in the ankles, because that could be what messed you up. So you could fix that by sitting back a little bit more, not letting the knees go as forward, especially if you want to switch to more of a low bar style. Lean over a little bit more, have the bar lower on your back. The other ways, if you want to stick with this, is changing the stance width or toe angle. So possibly if you go a little bit wider with the toes out a little bit more, you're going to be able to drive the knees out more and give you more space to sit down without the knees going as far forward. And then the last way possibly is just to increase the range of motion in the ankle, possibly working on stretching out the calves and the Achilles, give you a little bit more room to work the joint without the heel coming up. But overall, looks really good as far as a like I said, Olympic style high bar squat. So we'll go on to the bench press. Bench press similar overall, a lot of good stuff going on with your technique, and a good job of fighting through and holding your position and locking it out. But again, just like the squat, there's like a couple things you can work on. One of them would be the pause on the chest is fairly quick. So in a competition, it'll be a little bit longer because you have to wait for the chief referee to give you a press command, and then you have to react to their voice and be able to press. So it's going to be a little bit longer. So for your training, you want to practice holding a little bit longer in the chest. And then the other thing is working on just overall tightness of the body. So you tend to be a little more relaxed in the lower half when you unrack the bar and bring it down. So here the hips are fairly low with butt playing on the bench. If you use this spot safety rail as a guide, you can kind of see that there's not any of your shorts that you can see above it, and then just a little bit of your chest and your stomach above it. But then if I come over here, so over here you bring it down to your chest, and then you drive it up, and then when you drive it up, you can see now you've engaged your legs, you brought your hips up higher, you can see your shorts now, and you can see your stomach and your chest more. So what we want is we want this position before you even unrack it. So we want to get tighter for the entire rep, not just after you're driving your legs and pressing the bar up. So you want to be driving your legs the entire time. So what I tell people is to drive their toes through the front of their shoes. So for you, it's going to be, in this case, from this angle, is pushing your toes and your feet here to the left, and then that reaction is going to be pushing you to the right. So that's going to get the hips up higher, it's going to get the stomach and the chest up higher, and it's going to get more weight on your shoulders. That's when, and then when you unrack the bar, now you're already in that tighter position as you go down, so you're going to be able to load your body more. And then when you do go to drive your legs after you press, that force is going to transfer into the bar more rather than it just transferring into your hips going up. Also, you're going to have a slightly more decline, so you're going to have a better angle for your pec muscles to be able to drive you through. So that might actually give you a little bit faster off the chest and through that little sticking point. And then we'll have to just work on possibly building up your triceps and that lockout to finish it up. But overall, good over there. So we'll move on to the deadlift. And for the deadlift, again, Same as the other ones, pretty solid. Just a couple small technique things we can work on to help out with that lockout. So one thing you can work on is your starting position. So if we come over here, this is where you're trying to start from. And there's a couple issues with this, is that you're basically trying to sit down too much and with the hips and sit back too much with the shoulders. You're trying to over exaggerate, trying to squat the weight up because the sumo deadlift, but you still want to see it as a deadlift with the hips higher than the knees and a little bit more of a hip hinge instead of it just being all a knee dominant movement. And the way I can kind of see this when I pause it here is the arms are basically vertical and the shoulders are behind the bar, and then with the hips being low, there's not a lot of tension in the hamstrings. And so as I move this forward, you can see before the bar breaks off the ground, your body is going to naturally shift into the correct position. So bar's basically completely off the ground at this point. So now we can see the hips went up more and the shoulders went forward more. So at this point now, our hips are higher than the knees. You got some tension in the hamstrings. The arm angles slightly back. And the reason why the arms angle slightly back is because we want the shoulder blades directly over the bar. We don't want them behind the bar. We want them directly over the bar. That's going to be the optimal position for starting. And because the shoulder blades are over the bar, your shoulder joint and the front delts are going to be slightly in front of the bar. So the arm has to angle slightly back from this shoulder joint here down to the palm of your hand. So this will be the correct starting position. The other thing you're going to want to try and work on is trying to straighten out the back and getting the pelvis more neutral. So a little bit of back rounding is fine, but we want to try and avoid as much as possible in sumo. And then this tucking of the pelvis a little bit here means that you're going to basically hit end of range of motion of your hips before lockout. So your glutes are going to be done with the movement before lockout, and then that's what you kind of get stuck towards the end. And the way you have to lock it out is then to just basically use your lower back to unravel your spine. So as you come here, you're using your legs and your glutes well and going straight up. And then once you hit about here, your hips have pretty much gone through all the way, and your glutes have done all this work. So now you're stuck here as you try and unravel your spine and lock out. So then from here, it's just bringing the shoulders back, using your lower back, and then finishing. So for this weight, your back was strong enough to do this finish right here and stay with it and fight through, but it is less efficient, and so it's holding you back. If you can get into a straighter back and a more neutral pelvis position here to start, it'll be slower to break off the ground, but then you'll be in a much better position to lock out, which is what the typical sumo is, and eventually we'll be able to do more weight that way. And it should be safer as well, since we're not compromising your vertebrae as much. All right, hope that helps